working. I don't know what I did wrong. Hello, YouTube. So I know it's really dark on YouTube. Not much I can do. Said, I learned so much from you. Excellent. Alabama, 21-month-old and a 4-month-old. Oh, you're right in the thick of it. Right in the Texas, 2-year-old. A lot of toddlers on that follow me. Yeah, MP. Trying to get him, this is a very quiet 16-year-old, trying to get him to balance school and friends. We just started the behavior board chart a week ago. Excellent. Excellent. How's that going? It's quite different with teenagers. I hope you've been watching me when I talk about teenagers. It's done quite differently. Okay. Oh, I know what you meant. TikTok's very, everyone makes mistakes on here, including me, because you haven't got much room and you're always on your phone. It's not like you're on a keyboard usually, right? That's why, I mean, I'm always doing typos on there. Actually, what I did was I bought myself a keyboard to go with my iPad. So now I can operate TikTok with a keyboard. I'm not doing it now, obviously, but anyway. Okay, anyway, enough about that. Let's get going. If you go in the link above, everything I have to offer is there. You can hire me for coaching, buy one of my courses, or download my free behavior board. My big course, How to Get Respect in 5 Weeks, is called the Bratbusters Boot Camp, and that is if you have a 3 to 12-year-old. The courses, the other courses are all for toddlers. Okay, now let's get going. No way. Fried chicken. We had triplets 1.5 years ago. Sorry, my skin is, it's white writing and the skin. I thought if I wore a black top, I'd be okay, but my skin is too light to read the whiting. We had triplets 1.5 years ago, 3 boys. We wanted a girl, so we tried again and got another set of triplets. Well, don't keep us in suspense. What were they? 3 girls? Oh my God. Are you going to try again? So now you've got 6 boys. Wow, that is so funny. Okay. I've worked with triplets before. When I was doing in-home work. Yeah, cute as a button. They were 2 boys and a girl, and they already had a little boy. I think he was 3. So yeah, it was so cute. My 3-year-old grandson. Okay, I don't talk about grandchildren. The reason is I never give parenting advice to anyone but a parent. Because if I said something, then the parents didn't like it and you tried to implement it or tell them about it, see, it puts me in an awkward spot. Okay. My 2-year-old never sits still. That's not a question, right? That's just toddlers. Yeah, that's a toddler. So we have 6 beautiful sons. Yeah, that is really cute. I always wanted girls just because I wanted what we have as adults. Because I was so close to my mom. So I always pictured myself having girls, and my firstborn was a boy. I wouldn't have traded him for anything. I mean, it was, you just wouldn't. But yeah, I was so shocked I had a boy. I was so convinced I was going to have girls. And then I had a girl. Yeah, no disappointment at all. Okay. He knows that. He hears that all the time. Not all the time, but every time I see him. Okay, so parenting questions. Let me see here. Let me get on a roll here. On week 2 of the behavior board, what about consequences for other bad behaviors that aren't rules on the board? Oh, such a good question. You just suffer through it. The reason is, and this is when I'm coaching people, I say, here's your rule, here's the behavior board. So we set it up together and then I explain how you make it work. And then they say, yeah, what about all the other crap they're doing? And I say, ignore it. Or do what you were doing before. Just mess up, do what you were doing before, yell at them, do whatever you got to do, right? Because we're only focusing on one. The whole idea behind this is that you are showing them, hey, wait, when I put a rule up there and a consequence, it's going to happen. The other stuff, don't even worry about it. I would deal with everything in day 1, but I'm level 10 with what I teach. You're just learning how to do this. And the kids will see, wait a minute, you made that behavior board work. Now you got another one. I think that one might work too. It doesn't mean they're going to stop doing the bad behavior necessarily, but you just follow through with the consequences. That's how you make it work. It's not about them following the rules. It's about you following the consequences if they break the rule. It didn't sound right, did it? But you know what I mean. And then week 2, you've got another behavior board. Now they're starting to look at you differently. They think, wow, you've got 2 behavior boards up there. By week 3, you only do three behavior boards. By week 3, you've got 3 behavior boards. That's when you start to feel it. You just start to feel different. You go, you know what? I know I'm starting to get this leadership. The other bad behaviors start to melt away. Once you get momentum and you get good at this, the other bad behaviors start to melt away. The course explains what you do after those 3 behavior boards, or you just keep watching me here. But the course goes into week 4, and that's the in-the-moment discipline. Everyone wants that. You get away from the behavior boards. So week 4 is the in-the-moment discipline, and then week 5 is, wrapping it all up, but it's also in the moment. You can continue to use behavior boards, but I never used one. I mean, once they respect you, you don't need them. They're just a teaching tool, teaching you how to get respect. So it's not about the kids, it's about you. Okay. Is there a video on how to use the chart for teens versus smaller kids? Yeah, sort of. I think I used the example. With teenagers, things change in the teen years, and you call it an accountability chart, and you set it up like this. You say here, and you start small. You don't start with the big stuff. You start small. By about week 3, then you can start to address the big stuff, because the whole point with teenagers is connecting with them, starting to get more respect going, mutual respect, okay? So it goes something like this in week 1. Say, I want to be a better parent, so I've got this accountability chart. I'm going to be on there too. So there's rules and consequences for everybody. Your rule is, I want you to put your dirty clothes in the hamper and nowhere else. So they can't go on the floor all day and then in the hamper at the end of the day. And then say to them, what do you want from me? So it's like that. You negotiate everything with teenagers. And then you have another behavior board in week 2, different rules and consequences. But keep it simple with the kids. Nothing personality-based ever. Yours can be personality-based, but not theirs. It's all simple stuff that is never going to get their back up, never going to get them defensive. You're just building rapport. You're building a connection with them. The 2 most important skills when you're parenting teenagers, number 1 by far is listening. You listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. That's the most important skill. Number 2 is negotiate everything. I want your dirty clothes in the hamper. What do you want from me? Oh, sugar. Oh, that was my daughter. She was calling, but I think she realized I was doing a live. Just a sec. Let me just message her. I always stop everything for my kids. I'm a mother. Okay. Doing a live. Okay. Hope it was nothing important. Just say, I have to ask her. Anything important? I see her every day. So we go to the same. We see each other every morning. Okay. She says nothing. Okay, now I can relax. You know what it's like. Your kids are everything, right? Okay. Do consequences need to have to do with the behavior? Okay. Does the punishment have to fit the crime is what you're asking? So let's say they hit someone. It's a really good one. If they hit someone, they have to do something nice for that person. That's the punishment fitting the crime. Can't always do that. If the rule is they have to put their shoes in the cubby every time they come home and they don't do it, then you might get them to empty the dishwasher. Do a chore. Do an act of kindness. If they won't do that, then of course you resort to the negative deprivation. It's 24-hour media blackout or something like that. But no, it doesn't always have to fit the crime. And then a lot of parents say, yeah, but they like helping with chores. They're still doing an act of kindness though. So you're still teaching them they did something bad or not right. It's not always horrible. It's just they just didn't put their shoes in the cubby. That's not bad. So they did something, they broke a rule. So then they have to do an act of kindness. They're still learning. You're not always teaching them what not to do. You're often teaching them what to do. So teaching them how to contribute to the household, be considerate, be thoughtful, all that stuff. They tend to kind of learn that from consequences. Like, for example, my consequences with my kids, I was pretty predictable. They really didn't do anything because I was a leader when they were little, so they never challenged me right through the teen years. My son said I could never rebel because you were too reasonable and easy to talk to. He said that when he was 15, floored me. I didn't see that coming. I thought, weird thing to say. Anyway, okay, I'll take it. And he seemed upset about it. He wanted to rebel. So I said, fine, go clean your room. And he never did. Rebellion, taken care of. Anyway, as I was saying about that, I totally forgot what I was saying. Sorry, hitting the table here. Oh yeah, my consequences were like this. Let's say my kids were running late for something or kept me waiting somewhere or something, then I would be standing there with the brush. I loved having my hair brushed. So you can brush my hair for 5 minutes. That would be great. Thank you very much. But yeah, so that was how I did it. Act of kindness. You know, you keep me waiting. You can brush my hair. That was how I disciplined. My son would have said, "What else you got?" So he would sometimes vacuum or something, you know. What else can we work with here? He didn't want to be brushing his mother's hair. 18-year-old man brushing. Ah, I love parenting. It was so much fun. Okay. Your consequences, yeah. One time my son was 12 years old, and I think he kept me waiting somewhere. I can't remember what it was. It actually wasn't really his fault because his friend's mother was trying to talk to him while he was trying to get out the door. But anyway, I still tell you what I did. I said, "Sweetie, you kept me waiting." You know, there's a certain, I mean, within reason, but it was quite a while. So anyway, I said, "Okay." So I said, "Here, you got two choices. No PlayStation tonight, or you can give me a 30-minute makeover." And he says, oh, he was 12, and he thought about it for a while, and he says, he really wanted to play on the PlayStation. He had a new game, and I knew that too. So I thought, this is my chance to get a makeover. I love all that stuff, right? So he said, "Okay, fine, I'll do the makeover." I got all the makeup up. I was all excited. I laid down on the couch so he could give me a makeover. And he's putting makeup on me. He says, "I feel like a serial killer." He's, "Oh, pretty girl," because I'm laying there like a corpse. Right? So we had a blast, but he never did it again. He never kept me waiting. I was kept hoping he would, but he never kept me waiting again. So yeah, you can have fun with consequences. I sure did. Evil, haha. Oh, yeah, you betcha. It's great. Oh, we had a blast. And it was funny. Like, we just had a blast. We actually had a lot of fun. Well, okay, I had a lot of fun. Okay, toddlers who push. I actually have a course on that. It's called, I can never remember what it's called, Toddlers Who Hit and Bite. It's up there in the link if you're interested. It just goes through how you deal with that. Toddlers are under the age of 3, and they're not about words. They're about consequences, and their consequences are consistent corrective actions. They only learn through actions, not words, and they learn through repetition. You do this enough times, they're going to start to get the hint. Wait a minute, every time I push someone over, I get pulled away from the fun for a few minutes. You know, no timeout. You just take them away from the fun for a few minutes. Timeout is when you put them in a corner, nose to wall. Make those teenagers uncomfortable. Best payback. Oh, I have some really creative stuff. You know what else I did? Do you really want to hear this stuff? Oh, God. I had a blast with parenting. It was so much fun. I'm going to tell you anyway. I just want to talk about this. Anyway, my kids were getting older, and my son was 5 years older than my daughter, and he didn't want to do the Easter. I loved Easter egg hunts. He would go crazy running around the whole house, and I didn't want them to have all that chocolate. So what I would do is I would put a letter I'd cut out Easter egg shaped pieces of paper, and I'd put a letter on each one. And then it was a puzzle. They had to, like a Scrabble, they had to put the word scramble. They had to put the thing together, and then they get a toy. So it wasn't just all chocolate. So anyway, he was getting too old for this. And I think he was about 16 or 18 or something. Like, it was hilarious. And I said, "Easter egg hunt." And he goes, "Mom, Mom, a bit too old for that." And I said, "Yeah, but this time I hid cash." So I put cash around the house. Yeah, he did it, and I got it on film. Oh, I had a blast. God, I love parenting. Okay. 3-year-old won't give personal space to 1-year-old, always takes things away. So yeah, they're just bullying them kind of. But yeah, I would just be very clear, put it on the behavior board and say no taking toys away or something like that. And then put it on the behavior board as a rule. If they do, then that 1-year-old gets their favorite toy for a few minutes, and you play with the 1-year-old with that favorite toy, and the 3-year-old can't go near you when you're doing that. That's the punishment fitting the crime kind of stuff. That one is one of my clients' favorite consequences. They say that one really works well, but it's hard. Everything's hard. It's supposed to be, though. This getting respect is hard work. You got to work for this. You got to earn it. Once you've got it, though, maintaining respect is a piece of cake. You see, I never had to earn it. I got it when my kids were little, so they grew right into it. They didn't know any different. They always knew Mom was a leader. They just did. And Dad was the pleaser. Dad was the one they could push around. Until they got older and he started saying, "Do you want me to tell Mom?" They go, "No, never mind." So because he always deferred to the leader. That's how you do it. There's very rarely two leaders in the household. There's usually one, and then there's usually a pleaser. You'll never find an authority, the old-fashioned style of parenting, my way or the highway, I'm in charge. I don't do that. You'll never see one of those and a leader. The reason is, if you have an authority and a leader in a household, the authority will bow to the leader. The reason is that the authority will see the friendship that you have. Leaders are best friends with their kids. They're the goofy fun parent too. The leadership is the fun role. Yeah. Oh, they asked for to be consoled afterwards. I get this a lot. Okay. I just saw your video about consoling after a tantrum. Do you say no to initiating console or no if they ask for console? So if they want to be consoled after they've had a tantrum, I don't go into that. I mean, I'll talk about it, but I don't go into consoling them after a tantrum. It's sort of almost saying, that was a really good tantrum, good for you. They interpret it almost like, if I have another tantrum, I might get hugged and told how wonderful I am. You see, it's sort of rewarding the tantrum in a way. So when they're finished having a tantrum, I've told you the mall story explains that best, why I don't console during a tantrum. But the swing story is my best tantrum story. But the mall story is basically, as soon as they're finished having a tantrum, you just go back to normal. So if my son had said, he was the one who had tantrums, if he'd said, oh, can I get a hug? I'd go, sure, okay, and kind of like that. Okay, let's go now. I wouldn't make it a big deal. They will survive. The reason they are upset is because they just lost their nut and they're trying to mentally recover from that. Don't become part of that process. Just keep going as if life just never even, you didn't even notice they had a tantrum. So you're not pushing them away, but you're going, yeah, okay, let's go now. And you want to read a book? Try and divert away from that. So just go back to normal. Calm as anything. You're always calm. When you're dealing with all this stuff, when you're disciplining and dealing with tantrums, you're very calm. The rest of the time you can be crazy. I was definitely a very loud and crazy mother. I was always the crazy one in the house. You can do that. If you're a leader, you can do whatever you want because you're the leader, right? So you can get away with anything. You can be crazy and loud and wild. That was why I made sure I got discipline out of the way so I could just relax and have fun. I used to chase my kids around the house every laundry day, which was every single day. And I put all my underpants on my head and with the leg holes down here, and I was the panty monster. I'd chase them around the house. They'd go running and hiding every time I did laundry. God, I had a blast. Okay. Just found out my 3-year-old boy doesn't speak and freezes in school when given directions. And that could just be shyness right now. It could be a whole bunch of things, but probably just shyness at this point. Let me see, it's October 4th. It's probably pretty new in school. So just finding their way, I don't see that as a huge red flag from my perspective with the information I've got. It could just be warming up to everything. Some kids are really shy. I've never had a shy minute in my life. I remember when I was a little kid, I avoided shy kids like the plague. Do you know why? Because I didn't understand shyness. I just thought they weren't friendly. Yeah, so shyness can be with little kids, it can often be interpreted as just that kid's no fun, not friendly. So here's what I suggest you do. If you've got a really shy, quiet little kid, not necessarily that's what's happening there, but do a lot of role playing with your kid. Role play, you be the other kid or you be them. And you say, here, when you go in the playground, here's some of the things you can say, and you practice it out. The more you practice teaching them how to be friendly and more outgoing, even if they're not naturally that way, the easier their life will become. This is what my clients tell me anyway. They say, yeah, it works. When you role play stuff at home and they've already practiced it, it comes out a lot easier out there. Telling them what to say is one thing. Having them practice it is totally different. So, yeah. Practice school stuff, practice being the teacher and your kid's the teacher and have fun with it. Have fun with it. Yeah, I thought all shy people were just really unfriendly because they weren't talking. It kind of makes sense though. As a kid, I had no shy, our whole family was loud, so not the least bit shy. So, yeah, I didn't understand shyness. Isn't that funny? And they always put me beside the shy kids in class, trying to bring them out. Like, Lisa, can you please go sit over there? I never understood why they always sat beside all these unfriendly kids, but it was because they were shy and I was the opposite. And I can't help myself. I had to talk, so I'd talk and talk, and often I became friends with those shy kids. But it was funny. It's funny how kids interpret things. I can remember being 3. I can remember that. Okay, 7-year-old has strong tantrums with kicking. That's a tell because they don't usually still have tantrums past the age of about 3.5 to 4. If you're a leader, they just don't. So it means that you got to set yourself up as a leader. I have a whole course on how to be a leader. It's called my Bratbusters Boot Camp, and that's between 3 and 12-year-old kids. And it teaches you how to be a leader. That wouldn't happen unless there's something else going on. I don't know, but generally that stuff just does not happen. Their behavior is just on you, and their behavior is 100% as a result of your parenting. So that is a result of your parenting, which is the best news you can hear because you can only change yourself anyway. We're not fixing kids, we're fixing and teaching parents here. If you're a leader, that wouldn't happen. There's just no way that would happen. So work on your leadership. Check out my course if you're interested. If not, just keep watching. Yeah, he's a chatter and wild at home. I worried he was he'll find his way. He's just little, right? He's just little. Anything else with biting and hitting? I have a course called Toddlers Who Bite and Hit. It's up in the link above if you're interested. I just sort of talked about that about 5 minutes ago. My son has ADHD, and well, how old is he? I don't know. Makes a difference. Work on your leadership skills. I never worked with kids I always worked with alphabet kids. That's what I called them. ADHD, WXYZ, whatever. They always had all these letters after their name, and they were always introduced with the letters too, which I always thought was kind of weird. But anyway, this is so and so, and he has this, and so that's where I learned all this. I didn't learn much with my own kids. I had so much experience with kids by the time I had my own. I just knew how to do this, but it was all those kids with ADHD and all sorts of challenges. Those are the ones that I learned all this on. So yeah. No apparent diagnosis, very good at school, none of the best behavior in school, just strong temp. Yeah, there's social pressure, especially by the age, this is the 7-year-old, right? Let me just double check. Yeah. There's social pressure at school. They're embarrassed to act out at school in front of their peers, generally, and in front of the teacher. They're more comfortable at home, so acting out at home. You got to set yourself up as a leader, and that won't happen. It just won't. Hmm. I'm not even going to talk about this. Just a sec. No, I could feel a rant coming on. You know how I get. I won't talk about it. Never mind. Something I read. Oh, by the way, I did a whole bunch of tantrum courses recently, and those ones always get people fired up. I love that. That's my fuel because I'm shaking things up. And that's why I'm here, to shake things up, because the parenting style that's so trendy right now, I call it the pleaser parent style. I don't know what methods are all under that, but it's this whole style of parenting is to please your children at all times. Try and make life easy for them. But those parents also yell because they don't have any respect, so they end up yelling. So it's a crap show. Anyway, but yeah, I'm trying to shake that up. That's why I'm here. So if I talk about tantrums and ignoring them a lot, oh my God, people come after me, and I love it. Yeah, it's just validation that I'm on the right track. Okay. Almost 3-year-old keeps getting into bed. Okay, so bedtime battles is something that comes up all the time. And what you do is it's twofold. Bedtime, you have a bedtime routine, very strict. It sort of calms everything down, gets them in the routine, shows that you know what you're doing. Bedtime routine usually lasts an hour. That entails bath, getting dressed, and then you read to them in their bed, not your bed, for about 20 minutes. And then you might have already bought something. They're 3, they can understand this. You might have already bought some galaxy lights or something pretty like a galaxy show in their room to make their room more special. And it just shows things are changing. So you say, okay, now at 8 o'clock, when 8 o'clock and my alarm goes, that's lights out, galaxy show, whatever. Lights out, you can have sound machines, whatever. and you stay in bed, you do not get up. Do you understand? Don't say, do you like it? Say, do you understand? If they go into a whole conversation, say, good night, love you, and then leave the room. The first time they get out of bed, you say, I said it's bedtime. Don't get up again. And you put them back to bed. The second time they get out, you say one word, bedtime. Every time after that, you don't say anything. You don't look at them or talk to them. You just calmly, quietly, slowly put them back to bed. So if they crawl into bed with you at night and you're asleep and you wake up and they're right there, and you carry them back to bed and don't say anything. Just keep putting them back to bed. It's usually one night of sheer hell, but then they often never get up again. But yeah, it's a bad one, but it works. So I say to my clients, do you want the rainbow? You got to go through the storm. So yeah, it's an ugly one. Usually this stuff gets worse before it gets better, which makes total sense. If you haven't been a leader in the past, all of a sudden you're trying to exercise your leadership and your kids are the leaders. They're in charge. They're getting away with everything. They're going to fight back. They're going to remember the old you. And they're going to think, yeah, all I have to do is up my skills and I can be the leader again. So it's going to get worse before it gets better. Almost always. Sometimes not. Sometimes parents get results right away, the first week. And they're going, ooh, this is easy. And then I'll say, well, hold on to your wig because it might have been the honeymoon week. And they might have thought, oh, this is fun because I get to punish mom and dad because you're on the behavior board too, right? And then by the second week, they're thinking, oh, wait, I don't like this so much. So yeah, by the end of week 3, that's when you usually see the results. But with the bedtime battle, it's usually one night. You transfer them from a toddler bed to a regular bed whenever you think they're ready. There's no rule for that, you know. I bought a trundle bed to put underneath my son's bed when he first went in, like when they first, he was the oldest. So I bought a trundle and I just pulled it out from underneath his bed. So when he went into the single bed, I pulled out the trundle in case he'd roll. Sometimes he'd wake up on the trundle, so he rolled out. And then it wasn't far to hit the floor, so it wasn't a big deal. Oh, Teresa, I haven't been able to catch your lives in weeks. Love your advice. Thank you so much. Where are you from? Where do you live, Teresa? Dot. Oh, you're back. Dot. I wonder how many people tried to get that and you just lucked out. Were you one of the first people on TikTok who said, I think I'll just be Dot? Advice for 3-year-old being all over 9-month-old, rough hugs, being close to their face. Yeah, put down, don't crowd your baby sister or brother. Okay, put that down on the board and then explain what that is. That's on the behavior board. That's completely free in the link above, okay, the behavior board. So put down, don't crowd, and then explain what that means. And then every time they do, there's a consequence. Look it up. The behavior board explains what to do. Your advice has helped me so much. Thank you. I'm a much calmer mom now. Excellent. That's why I'm here. I love to hear that. That's what keeps me going because I know I get results. I get emails every day. It's just wonderful. What a nice thing, eh? To be able to serve people and then it working and then them appreciating it. That's what life's all about. Especially as you get older, you start to really get that. I was always volunteering and doing a whole bunch of stuff in the community. So it's really nice, but to be able to have a business where you're doing that too, like, you know, it's unreal to be able to help people and be appreciated. Doesn't get any better than that. You said, you're the dang best. Did you not read all the comments in my tantrum videos yesterday? Just vile. I love all that stuff. And that's what keeps me going. Yeah, they hate my guts. Anytime I do a video and I talk about ignoring tantrums, oh, the vipers come out. It's great. It means I'm shaking things up, and that's why I'm here. Yeah, you got to read those comments. They're fun. Okay, Scranton, Pennsylvania. Oh, okay, Scranton. That was on All in the Family. Edith Bunker, you probably are too young to remember that. And yeah, the Scranton came up on that show. It's the only time I'd ever heard of the place Scranton, and it was Archie Bunker said Scranton, like they were supposed to go to Scranton. Anyway, the way he said it. You're far too young to remember that show. Okay. Oh, how to deal with a 3-year-old that likes a meal one week and refuses to touch it next time. I can't discuss nutrition because I'm not a doctor or a nutritionist, but I will tell you what I did with my kids, if it's of any help at all. Plus, I was a leader already, so they kind of knew. They never fought me on anything, so they just kind of knew. But I also don't believe in pushing food on kids if they're not enjoying it. Like, what I mean is, if they really hate something, I would never food push. So, and I knew what they liked, and I cooked around it. So I knew they had like a whole bunch of foods that they liked and they would eat, and that's all I sort of cooked. But every so often, I'd throw something new in. I'd say, you have to try it, but you don't have to eat it. And they would often just do this and then say, I don't like it. And I'd say, fine. Dinner was never a battle at all. It was just always, we just had fun. Anyway, what I did was my kids only ate healthy food because that's all we had in the house. I made everything from scratch. There was no ice cream or potato chips or anything in our house. So my kids knew if they didn't eat their broccoli, there was no ice cream waiting for them. So plus I made everything from scratch, and I threw it when I made cakes and cookies and pizza. I hid all sorts of stuff in there. Like my cakes didn't taste like other cakes. Very little sugar, a whole bunch of wheat germ, and all sorts of healthy stuff thrown in there. My pizza sauce, my son, the first time he went out and had pizza somewhere else, he said the sauce was really weird. It was red. Mine was brown because I pureed spinach into all my pizza sauce. So, yeah, if you have nothing but healthy food in the house and you don't make a big deal out of them not eating something if they don't like it, my kids didn't have any, like they weren't holding out for ice cream or potato chips because there wasn't any. But when they went out, they'd have at it. You go to a birthday party, they always came home with a stomach ache, but have at it. They always said everything tastes so different. And then they'd gobble it up because sugar is very exciting, but then they always come home with a stomach ache because they weren't used to eating like that at home. But that's what I did. But I'm not a nutritionist, so, I've been taking your advice so much, and it's definitely working, but it's been a process. It is hard work, but anything worth having is worth the work. Like I always say, everyone wants the rainbow, right? But you got to go through a storm to get there. But once you're there, maintaining respect is a piece of cake. Maintaining your leadership is a piece of cake. Getting it is really hard work because you're retraining yourself. It's about you and your personality. You're retraining yourself. You're learning how not to yell. You're learning how to stay calm. You're learning how to get organized. Like if I was working with kids and they did something rotten, if I was working with them in a classroom or something, I'd say, didn't like that. I'll tell you what we'll do. I was very quiet and they didn't like that because they looked up to me. They wanted to please me. So that's what happens. They become self-disciplining. So if they acted up, oh, sorry, Lisa, how about if I, do an extra lesson or something, so they were very quick to discipline themselves. But yeah, leadership is hard to get if you've never done it with kids. But once you got it, once you know how to do this, piece of cake. It's just a skill. Once you've learned the skill, you look back and you think, how did I not figure that out myself? It's like anything. I do that all the time. Like, well, this is so weird. How did I not figure this out? But if you've never done it, how would you know? And usually you only get a go at one family. Whereas I worked with hundreds of kids before I ever had my own kids. So I already kind of knew all this stuff, right? And I was going to say knew everything. No one knows everything, and I wouldn't want to anyway. But anyway, so yeah, you usually only get one family, and you're learning with your kids. So it's harder. I'd already done all that. So I knew how to get respect from day one. Not when they were brand new, not on the day they were born, but generally, yeah. They knew. They were always a little bit different with me than they were with their dad, like on the change table and all that. They just knew mom was in charge. They just know. And they love you both the same, but they knew mom was in charge. I'm suggesting your kid, who he's eats something one week and not the next week. How old is he, by the way? You said he's older, isn't he? He's not 2. How old is he? The fussy one. Okay, adventures. I'm just going to wait for your answer for a second here. Sometimes it takes a minute. Yeah, sometimes they are hungrier than others, but then what she was saying was they just won't eat that particular food, whether they're hungry or not. That's what I'm picking up on. I'm going back because I want to know how old, because I have an idea, but I need to know the age. 3-year-old. Oh, 3-year-old. Could be taste buds are changing, but I would say it could be a little bit of manipulation. They can manipulate by the age of 3. Um, yes, they're capable of it at 3. Some people say they can't do it till they're 7. That's ridiculous. They can manipulate younger than 3, but certainly by 3. They can figure out who's in charge, and they like upsetting you. They're watching you. It's a power trip. So I'm suggesting that could be it. It's a power trip. Maybe. Wait, you can have respect on the changing table? I thought it was just a rite of passage. It was quite interesting because, I mean, all kids, when they're toddlers especially, are going to be twisting and turning on the change table. It's just the way it goes. And I remember one day they were doing that with their dad, and he'd say, okay, well, let's take a break. If you're really good, then we'll go and play. Like he was just, the mini therapy session stuff. So I went in there, and they said, I don't remember which kid it was, and they saw me coming, and they just laid there. I never even did anything. It was just they knew when mom was in the room, mom's in charge. They just know that. So, and they actually had a smirk on their face when they saw me coming, like, uh-oh, mom's coming. It's like my mom and my dad had that too. My mom was the leader and the dad was the pleaser. And my dad would let me get away with murder. But sometimes if I asked for something too ridiculous, he'd say, let's go ask mom. And I'd say, never mind. How do you handle emotional teen? You never deal with attitude or emotions, ever, never, 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 because there's no point. But when you're a leader, it tends to, teenagers are hormonal. They're going to be emotional, up and down, up and down, up and down. And everyone else usually gets the best of them, and you get the worst. It's just the way it is usually. So anyway, you never address their emotions. If you were to say something like, oh, well, we'll wait till you're in a better mood or something like that, that's an escalator. So you never address emotions or attitude. There's no point. But when they respect you, you have to learn, and part of respecting them is giving them space when they are emotional. But the better a leader you have been or you are, you can learn to do this when they're teenagers too. They will start telling you everything, and it does tend to regulate their emotions a little bit better. Not great. I mean, some of them are just more emotional than others, but they do tend to be a little bit more regulated when they've got a safe place to land and they can tell you anything. It helps them a great deal getting through stuff if they know they've got a safe place to land. No judgment. You can tell me anything. I'm not going to lecture you. I'm a good listener. So yeah, listen without judgment. You listen to show understanding and empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, and they'll tell you everything. And then they'll turn 18, and you have to say, "Can you please stop telling me everything? I can't take it anymore." Like they don't know how not to tell you everything. I appreciate your advice as well as your loving demeanor towards children and parenting. The funny thing is, when I first started my business, I was worried about it because when I was mentoring troubled teens, they told me to do this. They said, you have to teach this, Lisa. And I didn't know how to do. Anyway, I started my business and I thought, and now I had worked with so many abused children previous to doing this business. And I just had a little bit of a funny feeling towards parents. I kind of was blaming them for all the problems that kids had. And I kind of thought, how am I going to be nurturing towards the parents when they're the ones that have made my job so difficult working with all these kids? It was really weird. And the first client I ever got, I thought, oh, I get it. They're doing the best they can. They don't set out to wreck their kids. They're doing the best they can. And I started mothering my clients too. So I started loving my parents just as much as the kids. So yeah, I just loved it. I fell in love with coaching. I thought, oh, I get it. They're all doing the best they know how. No one's handed a baby in the hospital and goes, I'm going to mess you up. They always want to do the best. They just don't know how. That's all. They don't know how. Or they've got their own crap that they're dealing with. A lot of I'm not a therapist, but my clients tell me, the ones who need it tell me, you are a therapist, because a lot of it is dealing with all their baggage, right? All their own childhood stuff. That's a huge part of what I do. But yeah. That's not how I go. That's not certainly what I expected when I started my business, but that's a huge part of it. Oh, okay. Is it possible for an almost 2-year-old to share toys, or is it useless to even try? It's useless to even try. You can heavy hand them by taking stuff away and doing it, but they're not really getting it. They're just doing it so that they'll actually keep the toy, or they'll play with it for a while. They're not really sharing. They only really learn empathy, and it takes empathy to really share, right? To understand someone else. That it's 3 years and 9 months old. That's when they can really actually think, oh, maybe they might want to turn too. They won't all do that, but that's when they're capable of understanding empathy. 3 years and 9 months. That's when they have the ability to actually initiate sharing and caring and understanding for someone else without it affecting them. I don't want to go into what I meant by that last statement, but there was a reason for that. But anyway, okay. Blah, blah, blah. Well, you just already answered the question here. My husband tells my 3-year-old every day not to play with her 7-month-old sister's hands, but does it still. That's the mini therapy sessions. Words are useless. Yeah, have a consequence. Have a consequence. Every time they do, there's a consequence. Okay. Maybe you put one of their favorite toys away for the day or something. So yeah, they're not listening. Why would they? That's like saying, if the government said, can you please pay your taxes? You don't have to, but can you please? There's a consequence if you don't. We're all led in the world by consequences. If we don't pay our mortgage, we lose our home. If we don't pay for our groceries, we'll get grabbed as a shoplifter. Like there's a consequence to everything. The sooner you teach your children that, the better. Like I used to say to my kids, if you're good, life is good. If you're bad, life ain't so good. I'll make sure that because I'm your mom. In other words, I'll make sure that if you make poor choices, there'll be a consequence. No anger, just what are we going to do about that? That was a bad choice there. What do you think we should do about that? Oh, I guess I can help you with the laundry or something. Sure, okay. Or you can brush my hair. I love having my hair brushed. 23-month-old says no when there's food in front of him that he doesn't want, then throws it on the floor. Yeah, if that's the case, then just hand feed him. As soon as he throws something on the floor, you say no, and you pick it up, and then you hand feed him for the rest of that meal. He may not even eat anything. He might be kicking and screaming because you won't let him touch food after that, but you just take charge and show him. If you throw food, you're hand fed. It usually takes one meal, and then they can have a healthy snack later. They're not going to die just because they don't get one little meal. Can they be able to have empathy earlier? My 2.5-year seems to have a good amount of empathy. They can have caring, but what they do is it's a payoff for them. It's all about them. They get the reward. Aren't you lovely? Aren't you? But at 3 years and 9 months, they'll see someone sad in a corner and they'll go over and do something nice, and then they'll walk away with no payoff. That's what I mean by empathy. They're not looking for the reward. They can be kind, but there's a difference. It's just... Yeah, 3 years and 9 months. It's when they realize they're not the only human beings in the world. That's when that hits them. They go, oh, other people have feelings too. It's not just how it affects them. My daughter was the most sensitive, sweet child. She's 28. She's still just always been, I've had friends who said, you can bundle all my kids up in one, you still wouldn't get one of her, like jokingly, of course. But yeah, she's probably the most loving creature I've ever met. She tells me every day how special I am, how lucky she is to have me every single day. When she was a baby, this was really weird. And I've never seen this before. She was in the shopping cart, and she was about 8 months old, maybe. And I was having a bad day. I had just finished, and I was used to teach aerobics. I just finished aerobics. I had to race to another one. And I didn't like the daycare there. So anyway, I just wasn't happy about dropping her off, but she could see me. Anyway, so I felt frustrated by it. So anyway, I remember this, and she looked up at me, and she reached up and she put her hands on my cheeks and looked at me like this, like she could see I was stressed out, and she was trying to soothe me, and she went like that and was trying to pat me to make me feel better. She was like 8 months old. So is that empathy? I think it was upsetting her to see me stressed. So, or was that empathy? I don't know. Yeah, she was always had that in her. Whereas my son would have just gone, yeah, whatever. Where's my treat? Where's my snack? He was more normal. I've raised 8 kids. Your advice is fantastic. Isn't it just common sense? Right? And you've got 8 kids. You got the PhD in parenting. If none of them are in jail, I mean, People used to say, how do you know if you're successful? I say, well, if they're not in jail by the time they're 18, you've probably done a decent job. I used to say that. Actually, my son, one of his classmates or something, he was a teenager, and one of his schoolmates said, would you ever break the law? And he says, are you kidding me? I'd be terrified my mom would get to me before the police could. Darn rights. He would have been embarrassed, right? But yeah, it's just common sense. How do you want to be treated? Think about that. And that's often what we do with kids. What we should be doing with kids is treat them. That's why I hate timeout. I would hate it if someone stuck me in a corner, nose to wall. I would hate that. I would be humiliated. I would hate to be yelled at. That's why I never yelled. Stuff like that. Okay. Oh my God, you've opened up a can of worms here with me. Do you expect to see an uptick in equalizing behaviors from kids when trying to improve leadership? Yes. Okay, about 30 years ago, I saw parenting shift and change. I won't go into it. I did a TED talk on this, actually. It's on YouTube. Anyway, it's how parenting's changed throughout the years. People weren't really ready to hear it when I did that. It was about 10 years ago. And yeah, I talked about how it's changed, and people are more ready to hear this now, because now they're seeing the effects of all this parenting that came in. They're seeing how it's just been a crap show. And that's why there's so many, you're raising people with self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. I think it's why, this please your parent style. There's a whole bunch of methods under that umbrella. I've never studied any. I only stay in my own lane. But I know enough about what's out there. It's the please your parent. They're always trying to please their kids. Please like me. Please like me. They're trying to make chores fun. They're trying to find them the easy job. They don't want their kids to have any challenges at all. So they're raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. And it's been a disaster. And I think people are ready for change because they've seen what's happened. The schools, teachers are quitting right, left, and center because they can't handle all the bad behavior. And the parents are coming in, why can't you fix my kids? That's parenting. You're sending these unruly kids to school, and then you're mad at the school for not fixing your children. It's frustrating. It really is. Anyway, it first started coming in about 30 years ago with the participation awards. When I saw that, I thought, are you freaking kidding me? And even some moms were complaining, even though their kids didn't even turn up and participate, they still wanted an award for their little snowflake. And that's why nowadays, you can sometimes see this. You didn't validate my feelings. I'm just the bus driver lady. I mean, it's just this self-entitlement. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. It was funny because someone was coming at me on a live once. So I said, well, they were just coming at me like bad, really vile. And I love that, but I don't usually answer it because it wastes your time, right? So I said, well, and then they said, well, I hate you and all that. And I said, well, that's fine. I mean, I don't care what strangers think of me. Like, why would I care what they think of me? So I said, I know your pain. That's why you're being so vile. And I get that. And I said, but, and then they said, oh, and you have is that how you deal with mental health issues? As if being vile is a mental health issue. Such a victimhood, this victim, woe is me. Even when they're being vile, they're a victim. So I see this all the time, but it's changing. Parents see that their children need leadership. They crave and want leadership. You shouldn't roll out the red carpet and make everything easy. I always said to my kids, I'll make sure the home front is happy and fun. We had a great home life. But I said, when you go out in the world, if you get a bad teacher, deal with it. That's life, kiddo. That is life. You're going to have to clean public toilets, hopefully once in your life. They both did at least once in jobs they had when they were teenagers. So, I didn't try and make everything easy for them. I wanted them to have hardships, but at home, everything was great. But out there in the world, I never tried to roll out the red carpet. I never expected anyone to treat them special. Never. When they started grade 1, I told the teacher, I said, if my kids ever step a toe out of line, don't discipline them. That's my job. I'll come and do it. And the teachers loved me. My kids never stepped a toe out of line, but they love me because I made sure I sent nice kids to school, respectful kids to school. That was my job. And nowadays, the schools are expected to raise kids. And parents are absolving themselves of so much responsibility. It's frustrating as heck for me. Now, but of course you're not because you're here, right? So ones who fight with me, I know what they're doing. I get it. I'm just trying to help them, but they keep coming back and attacking me. So that's good. That means I'm making them think, right? But yes, I do think that things are changing. I'm seeing it. I really am. Okay, so what do you do when you're preteen boys? So what if nothing but yelling works? Yelling is temporary and it backfires. It's short term. It might work for now, but it backfires down the road. You know it does. It either doesn't work at all or backfires down the road. But it might work when they're little. It's one of those things that builds resentment. So look at my behavior board, and I have a full course up in the link above. It's a Bratbusters boot camp, and it teaches you how to set yourself up as a leader so you don't need to yell. Most of my clients yell. It's very unusual if they don't. So you're not alone. They just don't know what else to do, so they yell. I knew what else to do, so I never had to yell. But yeah, I teach you what else to do, but put no yelling as your rule. It's almost always no yelling for the parents. Sometimes I'll get clients and I'll say, okay, do you yell? And I'm ready to type in no yelling. And they go, no, we don't yell. And I'm like, it throws me right off because it's that rare that I get clients who don't yell. And these are highly educated, smart people. A lot of my clients are teachers, principals, child psychologists. You know, that's a different thing. Parenting's different from all those things. You can't cross over to parenting with those skill levels. They're different. Like I couldn't cross over into teaching. I'd get up in front of a class and wet myself. I wouldn't have a clue how to do it. So they're different. Parenting is not like anything else. And it's not that those people with these high child development degrees are struggling more than anyone else, but they are learners and perfectionists. They want to get it right. So I just want to clarify that. Child psychologists are not more messed up with parenting than anybody else. They're probably doing better than a lot, but they want to get it right. They're learners, right? And they identify experience trumps education when it comes to parenting. Okay. Is it wrong to teach my child to punch back? Daycare. Yeah, it is. You never teach a child to defend himself physically against a bully unless he's laying on the ground, he's trying to push him off him. But you never do that. The reason is not all bullies are cowards. Sometimes they're very experienced fighters and they're ruthless. So I would never, ever, ever. That is up to the adults to deal with. If it's physical violence, that is not the children's responsibility to fix. That's the adult's responsibility to fix. Yeah, absolutely. Don't even think about that. You know, I get a lot of clients in Texas, and you can imagine Texas, they have a different view on this sort of stuff. This one dad said to me, he says, well, I told my son, he said, when someone comes up to me, he said, and I was so proud, he belted him right in the face and broke his nose and no one ever came near him again. I said, okay, tick, that's taken care of. I just laughed. I'm not gonna argue that. He said, I know you're gonna hate this. And I said, yeah, but you know, what do you say? But yeah, broke his nose and the kid never came near him again. I do not condone that at all. I get a lot of clients from the South, and I just love a Southern accent. So okay. My toddler has regressed in listening since we've had our newborn. Did you experience this? Oh, that's super, super common. Yeah. Imagine if you were married and your spouse brought home another spouse, like brought in another wife or something. That's kind of what it's like. It's like throws you right off. Like, yeah, they'll adjust. It's just an adjustment period. God, I wish I could tell you some of the stuff my clients have said. Some of it's really like I just have a riot. Like some of it's just hilarious. Some of the stuff they've done with their kids, trying to sort them out. You got to have if you're going to work with me, you got to have a sense of humor because. Yeah, I'll go on a little bit about that bullying. Bullying is Mostly done these days in words and online. Physical violence usually is more taken care of at schools now because there's more supervision. When I grew up, there wasn't. We were sort of thrown out in the schoolyard and kids were fighting more. It just was sort of more acceptable back in the 60s. I'm old, right? It's back in the 60s. But nowadays there's more supervision, so there's not as much of that. But yeah, I would never, ever encourage a child to fight back physically unless they're literally trying to push the other kid off of them, but never to actually throw a punch or anything. Because, yeah, I've just heard of all sorts of stuff where that's just a problem. And the bully is often a really good fighter. They're not always. Sometimes they are cowards, yes, but they aren't always. So I had a client, I've had a few actually, but one not that long ago, who got their child in self-defense classes because they were really having, and they were older, they were like 14 or something. I don't think that's a bad idea, self-defense classes. So they weren't learning how to attack, but they were learning how to defend themselves if someone came up, because these kids were coming up and doing chokeholds on the kid. And so, yeah, I didn't think that was a bad idea, but that gets more into the crisis work I do in coaching. But yeah, I never teach a child to fight back. Well, if the 3-year-old is being hit by another student, if it's on school grounds, you have to talk to the school about that. That's the school's responsibility to keep your children safe at school. Talk to the school if it's on school grounds. If it's off school grounds, don't talk to the school about it unless you want to, but that's really not their responsibility. It's like asking them to help you at the mall. I mean, it's, once it's out of school grounds, it's not their responsibility. What if we don't have time to wait out a tantrum? Well, you just pick them up, put them under your arm and walk around and do whatever you got to do. When I say ignore, you don't have to stand there if you got to get going. You just pick them up, screaming, kicking, whatever. You don't look at them or talk to them, though. And you just put them in the car seat, don't look at them or talk. You're still ignoring them, but you got to get going, right? So, yeah. Actually, I have to get going. I gotta get some videos done, actually. What would you like me to do a video on? I'll tell you what I'm probably going to do, what I've got written down. No, I've already done that one. Oh no, that's just funny. Actually, I don't have anything written down. I just usually hit record and start talking. But what would you like me to do videos on? I might do one on bedtime battles because you've talked about that. I'll do one about kids hitting your kids at school. We'll do that one. What else would you like me to do a video on? Need help, have issues. That name sounds familiar. Have issues, co-parenting. If you want that co-parenting, that's for coaching. That's not a TikTok answer. If you want my help, you can hire me in the link above. So what would you like me to do a video on? Any suggestions? An example of a schedule of a day with kids at different ages, playtimes. Okay, how to schedule a day with kids. Kids' days. Good one. I don't think I've ever done that before. Huh. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, I'll do that. Okay, I'm just going to do my videos now, and I'm going to get going. If you go in the link above, you can hire me for coaching, buy one of my courses, or download my free behavior board. My big course, the Bratbusters Bootcamp, is from 3 to 12-year-olds, sets you up as a leader in 5 weeks. Do not jump to week 4. Everyone wants week 4. You start with week 1, 2, and 3. And do not rush it. Pace it out over 5 weeks. 5 weeks is not that long in the length of 18 years of raising kids. Anyway, I got to get going. Thanks so much for joining me, and we'll talk again tomorrow. Bye now.